truck pulled in the shop. We're gonna go ahead and get the rear end jacked up, slap some jack stands underneath it, get the tires pulled off. All right, we got our shocks pulled off. Drive shaft is pulled out of there. We're gonna go ahead and lower the axle down to where it's hanging freely. I'm gonna measure my pinion angle with an electric gauge. Once we get that pinion angle, we're gonna write it down. We're gonna go ahead and pull the front bolts off the springs, drop those down, get the axle pulled off so we can cut the spring perches off from the top. We can place the axle on top of the leaf springs and then weld our new perches on. So we measured the pinion angle and we were at 88.5 degrees. We went ahead and pulled a couple leaf springs out of our pack and put a new center bolt in it. I got my spring perches drilled out so they fit over our new center bolt. We're gonna go ahead and pound out the front bolts for our leaf springs so we can drop those down and get the axle swapped on top. Then we can get everything set in place and tightened down so we can move the pinion to get the pinion angle set, get it tacked and welded. So I went ahead and got my 5-inch pipe cleaned up, cut in half, ready to go. I put it up on my frame rails where I want it. I marked it, so I just centered it up with the bump stop because that's where your axle sits naturally. So that's where we're gonna weld it in. So now I'm gonna go ahead, take the torch, cut it out all the way out. I need to cut this out as well. This is some farmer bumper thing they put in, so I'm just gonna cut that back, cut that out, and then we'll go ahead and clean it up to fit this. Then we'll do the other side as well, and we'll see in a bit. So we got our frame notched out. We got those pieces of 5-inch tubing welded in. We have tubing welded on the backside, or sorry, 3/16 plate welded on the backside. We got the axle put on top of our leaf springs. Now we're gonna go ahead, clean the axle tubes off so we can throw in our new spring perches, set our pinion angle, and weld everything up. All right, so we got the axle put back in. Spring perches are welded on. U-bolts are in. Everything's good. I got the drive shaft. I had to shorten the transmission side because of how much we're lowering it. So I just cut it off with an angle grinder and then I lubed it up and slapped the drive shaft in. We got that all back on. I got this brake line connected. I'm making a new brake line for the other side because it didn't have one originally. It rusted out. Once we get that in, we'll bleed the brakes and slap it on the ground and see where we're at and drop the front to match. Just in the nick of time. It is snowing outside, but she is low. What do you think, Luke? Looks pretty good. Let's get her pulled outside and see what she looks like. She is low. All right, I got the truck turned around. Now we're gonna lower the front end. Okay, so I got the front tires off and then the frames on jack stands. Basically, these two bolts up here go down to a retainer underneath, which has a strap over the coil. You gotta take those out, and you can lower down your wheel, and then I'm gonna cut out a coil and a half. So then I gotta loosen this nut up so I can rotate my coil around so then the end of my coil is in the right spot. So let's go ahead and pull that strap off. So this is the retainer that was holding the spring in. These nuts are welded on the back side, so it's just the bolts on top. Then you gotta take the bushing off of your shock to lower that all down. Your spring will just pop out. I rotated my spring around already. I didn't have to loosen the nut, it just turned for me. So I'm gonna go ahead, that's a coil, and then a half. It's gonna be right there, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there. And we'll see what it looks like. So this is where it sits now. It's still squatted quite a bit, but I don't really want to lower it anymore in the front because I can't really go back once I lower it. So I might end up figuring out a way to raise the rear a little bit because that is a little bit lower than I would like, but we shall see. So after a long night of thinking, discussing, figuring, we have decided we're going to cut another half a coil out of the front, see how low that gets us, see if it'll get us somewhat level with the rear, and yeah, we'll go from there. My worry is I don't want to go too low in the front because I can't really put those coils back on, and I'm trying to see how little money I can spend on this project. So far I'm only in it about $22, so let's go ahead and cut those coils out. Alright, here goes nothing. It's not that much lower. Will it be level though? Let's pull it out and see. Here she is after our second time lowering the front. It's definitely still squatting a bit. My only concern is we're now running into some camber issues with that twin traction beam or the twin I-beam stuff. So tires are starting to camber out on both sides. So I don't want to go too much lower in the front or else we'll have to heat up the beams and bend them. So let us know what you think. Should we throw a set of like 14s on the front or 13s and some really small tires and then some big old drag slicks on the back, or what do you guys think we should do to level it out, you know, or run it like this? Should we raise the rear back up, or should we just scrap the whole idea and throw it on a highboy chassis? Let us know in the comments. All right, we got Shelby.
Very short.
What do you think?
Looks good.
You like it?
You know, it's okay. Not my favorite.
Just okay.
Not my truck.
What would you have done?
Built a Mustang.
Well, there you go, folks. Shelby hates it. Well, thank you guys for watching this video, and stay tuned for more updates on this truck. We are still thinking about different ideas to do with it, and we're trying to get Shelby to get some updates for her Mustang out so you guys can see what's going on with that project. But make sure you like and subscribe on this video, and we'll see you in the next one.